Okay, we know the drill. We know how to identify a fundamentalist ideology that makes all kind of phony promises. And we know how to confront them. And so this will be the last lecture. I call it my last will and testament. One of the things about the scalpel that I want to underline is the assumptions that each one of them makes. You know, I said say the exact system, show differences, deal with the assumptions, deal with the consequences to the people, and does that fit in the 21st century? That's the 5 aspects of the scalpel. The middle one, the assumptions, is quite important. It's philosophical. For instance, in the medical, pharmaceutical, insurance complex, there's the philosophical assumption that mental issues are a result of chemical imbalance. In the NRA, when they go into their rant about the right to bear arms, the assumption is that they have studied the Constitution. In the evangelicals and the Taliban, there's the assumption that they have studied and know their holy documents, the Quran and the Bible. But actually, in each case, evangelicals and the Taliban, they select, they emphasize, and they interpret along a certain line. Another assumption of both of those faiths is that God is up. And so searching for philosophical assumptions is very important. In free market fundamentalism, there's the assumption that capitalism works more, in addition to economics, it works in all areas, and we saw that in the local school board. So we know the drill. Frankly, I was unaware of how philosophical all the past lectures on ideology have been. Philosophy deals with politics, science, education, economics, art, linguistics, war, government, society, etc. Philosophy is supposed to be the meta-discipline, the one that sees all the disciplines and tries to make sense of it. But I was also unaware, in terms of assumptions, that I was asking the basic philosophical question, which is, what has to be true in order for what they are saying to be true? For instance, that there is a God that's up in the sky. Well, my lifetime fight has been against narcissism, the utter delusion of being lost in one's own selfish pursuits in terms of thinking, acting, believing, and goals for life. As I did my half-century of doing psychotherapy, so have I done in these lectures on ideology. Whether it's a Taliban teenager, or an NRA gun advocate, or free market fundamentalism, I have sought to confront their absolute narcissism because they think that they have the final system. I began my journey in fighting against narcissism when I saw such immense racism in the South in the 1930s and 1940s. I saw how this absolute power of the cotton barons and the cotton industry strangled ordinary people, and particularly people of color. And I also saw a lot of family dysfunction that thrust me into the field of psychology. Melville, who wrote Moby Dick, had a quotation in it that I want to read. Any human thing supposed to be complete must for that very reason be faulty. By the way, I recently reread Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and I have no doubt at all it's a great American novel. And I made an immense amount of notes in it, and I looked, and when I got to the last page, I was rather surprised that I had last read it on April 28th, 1956. Now there's a large number of years, over 55, between readings of this superbly great book. Herman Melville, in showing Ahab, the captain of the boat Pequod, in his search to kill Moby Dick, Melville shows a great obsession. And I admit that I've had a great obsession since a child in Memphis, Tennessee. I wanted to destroy evil. And Melville very clearly shows that you cannot destroy evil. It is going to continue. It will swim the seas, and it will be shining forth with its whiteness when we are dead and gone. So that's one of the great lessons, is that you cannot destroy evil. And so those of you who begin the journey of combating these narcissistic pathologies, these narcissistic ideologies, you need to know that they're going to be lasting after you're dead and gone. Ideologies spring up like weeds. I recall I read recently that a psychoanalyst said that he gave Hitler, he said this way back in the early 1930s, because Hitler came to power in 1933. He said, I give him 12 years. And that's exactly how long Hitler and Nazism lasted. And so you can count on that you can fight against the Taliban, and you can fight against evangelical theology, and you can fight against free market fundamentalism or the NRA, but they will last because they always appeal to adolescents. So you can't kill off the whale. It's impossible. As I once said, you will always have barbarians trying to destroy the culture of Rome and Greece. It's just part of the human story. So in the great story of Moby Dick that I just thrill in, I mean, he's got a lot of boring passages in it, I admit that. He goes off on strange subjects, trying to be ultimately complete in terms of covering everything about whaling boats, about harpoons. Well, that's not necessary, but I do call upon you in this last will and testament to hurl your harpoon. It's important to keep freedom going in the world. So, I've grown old, and I think it's time to turn over the fight against narcissism to others. Evil is always going to be there. I'll do my little part as I grow older and until I die. But this is my last will and testament. I pass on a mission. Do oppose in all the unique ways out of your skill set narcissism. Keep trying to liberate humanity. So I pass on a mission in these past 16 lectures. I know, and I have explained in the freedom section, that happiness comes with really experiencing the world, the positive participles, discovering, creating, growing, contributing, loving, laughing, playing, singing, dancing. Experience life. Don't get off in your head as I often did, because I found parts of Ahab in my own soul where I just very intently intended to destroy evil, the evil of narcissism. But happiness comes with experience. Be sure and experience the full world, discover, create, and grow. Also, know that a mission should include contributing. So, I know that mental peace comes with joining all my friends back here, the people who kept growing. You know, it's right over here, I think, is Freud. And I've been reading lately also how he kept changing his theory and frustrating each psychoanalyst who wants to make it into a hardened fundamentalism ideology, and he kept creating all the way to the very end. And remember that Freud had 32 surgeries on his gums, so he was not stopped by circumstances. He kept trying to free humanity. And then I say one other thing, and that is that real love comes when you have a soul partner. And that is something that I hope you have that bonus in doing. So finally I say, do your best and let it go at that.